The person I'm speaking to today has a very distinct problem with indecision. You have a moment, a peak of confidence, where you choose something that feels entirely aligned and brilliant to you. And then soon enough, it could be within days, you begin to feel doubt creeping in. You wonder if the decision you made might hold you down, might end up feeling like a burden, or might have been influenced by a positive mood rather than an eternal desire. Spirit wants to show you how this is not actually a problem of indecision. This is an energy issue. And this reading is going to explain exactly how you can stop this problem from happening, where you should make your decisions from, and why you have been having this problem. So the first thing you need to understand is that in this reality, we operate under two overlapping energetic fields. The first field is your own field. It's your solo field. It's your individual world of creation, where when you're on your own, you have intense certainties about how your world works, what you like, what satisfies you, what you're good at. All of those certainties lay inside of your personal individual field. The other field that overlaps intermittently with your personal field is the collective field. This is the average or the sum of all other people, what they think, what the norms are, the fears that they carry, most importantly, and their energetics. As humans, it's natural and necessary for us to weave in and out of the individual versus the collective field. But if you're rather porous energetically or empathic, you often slip accidentally into the collective field and you take on their fears, their confusions, and their uncertainties without knowing it. The core way for you to stay out of the collective field is by being in active creation. Passivity, laziness, or waiting in uncertainty, so the state of being between choices where you haven't made a decision, is the worst place that you can be in. This is the entropic zone where you end up falling into the collective. The number one strongest method for you to avoid falling into the collective subconscious is by conscious creation, active creativity, and being piercing with your decisions. So it's not even about the decision you make ultimately, it's about staying out of the indecision energy altogether. Spirit wants you to see that all of these things you're using to justify insecurity or uncertainty that is causing you to sway, it's actually to do with survival and belonging to the group. There's a deeper part of you that concerns that you will never be accepted, chosen, or fit in if you stick to this decision. Say it's a decision to alter your appearance in some way. You dye your hair a certain color, or you begin to change your wardrobe. You make that decision inside of your individual energetic field. Then the collective field pulls you back to stasis or to a center, which is the average of everybody else's thoughts and concerns. So these aren't your insecurities, which is something very positive for you. I feel like I have to repeat it again. These are not your insecurities, no matter how much you think they are. They are derived from the collective field. So this is a matter of action versus inaction, or creation versus nothing, or death, or stagnation, liminality. Because you have this pattern of feeling indecisive, you begin to cede your control over to a higher power, which is either the group who you want approval from, or spirit who you want to check is giving you the signs to confirm that you're making the right decision. I want to reiterate, when I'm saying your insecurities, they're not. You're not an insecure person. This is the thing that you've got wrong. You're completely certain, but you keep wavering in and out of an active versus a passive state. And this is what is creating your confusion. So you might be prone to such behaviors as looking for synchronicities, seeing synchronicities, and then wanting to see more, a feeling that there's never enough approval or confirmation that you're on the right track. Easing into a decision and then beginning to question it, asking other people's advice, reading the cards more than once a week, and asking the tarot cards or the oracle cards very specific questions about a yes or no to try and confirm tiny little parts of your decision making. This is all scrambling your channel. And most often it comes from the transition out of being purely tied to the collective field into more clarity around your individual field and what that feels like. Because when you're in it, it feels really certain, it feels really good. You know what your future is, you know what your taste is. And then when you meet another person, you struggle to articulate it because you're no longer solely in your individual field. You're starting to intermingle with another. And because of your porousness energetically or empathically, you take on their doubts, you let their nervous system wrap around yours, and you hold strong and steady for them. Now, that's a whole other subject, which I won't get into today, but just to touch on it, know that if you are an empathic or energetically conscious being, a lot of the time you subconsciously allow other people to lean on your nervous system when they're feeling uncertain. So if you start to try and talk about your goal and you're trying to remember that confidence you felt when you were on your own, the other person is subconsciously sensing that and they're terrified of that. Because more often than not, others are tied to the collective field more than their own. So you will start to feel that pressure from their nervous system leaning on yours, and it will look like you being uncertain and you not knowing how to speak about these things that you know you want to do or these things that you have decided on. You're feeling their insecurity. But it's happening at a very deep layer of the psyche. I'll talk about that in another reading, but to get back on track, Spirit is wanting to show you how you can fix this problem of wavering in and out of the individual field versus the collective field. Okay, so the first criteria I'm being given is the word solutions. So notice when you make a decision, whether it's the launch of a business idea, change to your appearance, etc. Is your mind flooding with exciting imagery, or is your body below the navel, like in your hips and in your stomach and your lower chest? Is that feeling strong, stable, and warm? If you're feeling excitement that's emanating from the top of your head, it's likely that this idea is somewhat tied to the collective field, and it is an idea that solves something for you, a perceived problem that you have. There's nothing wrong with creating solutions, But if the idea feels like it solves a problem more than engages a warm, enthusiastic instinct, then it's likely a fleeting and time-sensitive choice that might have something to do with a perceived positive outcome of acceptance by the group, or a change, a drastic change to your lifestyle that you're feeling unsatisfied with and you want immediate results and changes. Begin to notice the difference between excitement and enthusiasm. Even when you hear the two words, they're two very different sensations. Excitement is often mental and heighty, and enthusiasm comes from deep within. See if you can notice in your decision-making process where the feeling is coming from most prominently, and try not to allow these exciting images, thoughts, and really quick solutions. For example, if it solves more than one problem at once, like this new idea is going to make you cool, it's going to make you popular, it's going to get you new followers, or this idea is going to get you from A to B faster than the alternative, slow burning, boring version, because it's something explosive and provocative. That's the first criteria: solutions, or excitement versus enthusiasm. The second criteria is longevity. Does this idea appear to you as an evolved version of an idea you've had in the past? Does it tick multiple boxes in terms of your satisfaction and lifestyle? Or is it incredibly novel and niche in terms of your personal system? Like it only ticks one box of something that you like. Like, does it feel like a shell on the outside of your body, or a rope in your hand? Or does it feel like a ladder from the inside of you, where these same concepts and ideas keep coming up? That's what you want. The repetition and the longevity is what you want. Each idea should feel like it's building off a previous self, rather than splitting off into a new self, or a piece of yourself that could only be accepted in certain conditions or by certain people in your life. It should feel thoroughly connected to your purpose and your passion and your instincts on more than one level. For example, this is a really weird example that just keeps coming to my head, so I'm going to use it. Say you play the trumpet and you get this idea to start a podcast about playing the trumpet. It's an idea that somehow you're going to make money creating this podcast, and you're going to make new social connections, and people are going to see you as an authority on trumpet. But deep down, you really want to be a famous trumpet player. You want to have an audience of your own, and you want to just play the trumpet and have that pay the bills. The trumpet podcast may feel exciting and adjacent and like a novel idea that can help you get to your goal. But the truth is, what you really need to do is practice, play on your own, do these cringy little intimate shows, and blast yourself all over social media as a trumpet player, not a trumpet podcast host. Does that paint the picture for you of what I'm talking about? It's pretty subtle, and it will take quite a bit of sitting with yourself to feel into these ideas, to know whether they truly connect with who you are. But then there's a B side to this, and Spirit is labeling that to me as why not? So this is the third and final criteria that Spirit is giving to me. And it's similar to the longevity one, but it's really interesting. So if you have an idea that is fun and breezy and kind of means nothing to you, but it's just something you want to try, this is a very healthy state for you to be in because of the intensity of your indecision. It feels that you've arrived at a place now where you weigh your decisions very heavily and they mean a lot to you in your life. They feel like big risks and dares, and like there's a lot weighing on your shoulders, especially because in previous readings, the person I'm talking to is concerned about time and running out of time. So it's common for you to make a decision and feel like you're not allowed to get it wrong. This third category of idea is something that you should really allow yourself to make. It's really healthy for balancing your system out. The criteria for this idea might be that it's something you're really good at. It's something you want to try just for a season. It's something that doesn't impact the other parts of your life or some deep internal aspect of your identity. You don't feel like you're stripping yourself raw doing this thing, or it's something that you used to do in the past, you were really good at, and you thought that that meant it had to be tied to your destiny. And now you're having this idea that is related. It could be low stakes, low pressure, maybe changing the color of your hair, knowing that you can always change it back if you don't like it, or creating some kind of a side project that comes from passion. Or it gives you a kind of experience, a life experience, something that you can learn or something that you want to improve on, or you can see it as a stepping stone to something else. For example, the Trumpeter podcast could fall into this category if the trumpeter was placing the majority of his eggs in the basket that he really needed to, which is doing small shows, engaging with the community, practicing his trumpet, la la la. And then the podcast becomes this fun hobby on the side where he gets to practice using his voice, talking to other people, and perhaps telling his stories from what's happening in his life while he pursues trumpet as a mainstream goal. So this is more about placing the priority or the weight of intentionality on your goal or idea. Wherever you sense great doom and fear and pressure, or you're leaning on this idea to provide you an expected outcome, that's where it starts to fall into the territory of unsustainable in category 2, longevity. So just to sum up number 3, this why not idea, the criteria should be that it's fun, easy, it should just feel like sweat off a duck's back. It doesn't really matter to you if it succeeds or fails, and it's not deeply tied to your identity. I mean, it's fantastic if anything you do can have this feeling behind it, because that's when things become really magnetic and flowy. But that's just an anomaly to the rule of longevity and sustainability. If it is just lighthearted, throwaway, this can also be really good, so long as it's not taking away from your deeper mission and purpose. So, bit of a longer reading today. I'm super thankful to Spirit for clearing this up, because this is really interesting to me. So, let's just summarize what we've learned. You have an individual energetic field from where all your clearest, most aligned ideas come. Then you interact with a collective field, which allows you to be part of the world, but because you're not using your energy with piercing direct intention, you sway between the collective idea and the individual idea, and you call this insecurity or indecision, but it's actually an energy problem. Second of all, you make decisions from a solution-based thinking, hoping that they will solve problems that are really grand and lofty, such as time running out or needing to kill two birds with one stone. Thirdly, you have ideas that are why not ideas, and these are positive ones that you should follow if it's not taking away from or distracting from the main goal. So that's a summary of today's reading. Please like and subscribe. Be brave, and I'll see you in the next reading.